Everybody, welcome back with the Plat. Strap in for a long one. We are going to be doing a tier list of every lower rarity unit that's on this list, which I believe is all of them, but we are going to be doing this. First thing you're going to notice, a couple things really quick. First, we have the L tier. That is for all loser units. These are ones that are not good. No, the L's for legendary. We're not doing them today. I don't have enough experience with most of them to really do an accurate tier list, so we're just going to leave them to the side for now. We're going to do all lower rarity units. Also, a couple things to note. There isn't a strict criteria. I'm not doing it based off one specific thing. Some of it, like one unit could be really good in tower, but really bad everywhere else, and they could rank high because of how good they are in their niche. Whereas another unit might just be generally pretty good, but not really excel in anything, and still could be ranked high because of their flexibility. So there's not a specific reason. All right, there's not a specific criteria, but I will try to justify where I put everybody. And I also have the game pulled up here in case I need some reminders, as there are a lot of these units. And some of them are pretty similar in terms of like outlaw or like recruited pikeman, recruited guard. Which one had the what ability, blah, blah, blah. But without further ado, oh, sorry, I want to do it not like that. I want the music up, so I'm going to do it like this. There we go. All right, so let's start. First, we're on Agile Eyes. I think this is kind of a funny character to start with. She has maybe my literal favorite ability in the game in her pandemic, whatever it is thing, in the form of anesthetic. I love that she passively stacks infection when attacking, and then if she hits someone when they have 5 or more stacks of infection, she puts them asleep after attacking. This is such a fun ability. But outside of that, I honestly don't like a lot of her kit. A lot of it is about getting high ground. Like you do extra, lowland things, hit you for less, and I believe her passive. When attacking from high ground, you get extra crit, you ignore dodge. I mean, she's got some good stuff, but nothing she has for me is like incredibly good, if that makes sense. It's all kind of like whatever, and her ultimates are kind of like whatever. It's like, I mean, it's a curved shot, so honestly, unfortunately for her, I'm gonna put her in the C tier. She doesn't impress me very much, especially with other options that are available. Ballista is, I don't want to talk about him too much. I think Ballista is a B tier, and I think this is essentially entirely off of his passive ability to easily reduce defense. So, like, you're gonna see a lot of units that have an ability like, is it recruited guard has it? There's a bunch of things that are like, that was the one wrong choice to pick. I think it's recruited pikeman. It's like you have a 50% chance to give physical defense to, right? A lot of units have an ability similar to that, which is a good ability, but Ballista here has that exact same ability, but he doubles down on it. He's like, hey, I have a 100% chance. It lasts for 3 turns, and it's after attacking. And guess what? This is a ranged guy with a lot of range. So he does a good amount of damage at a really long range. And he's overall just got a great kit. I think Siege is insanely overrated. I really wish his ability would get a buff. I don't want to get into why I don't think this ability is nearly as good as it sounds, but I'm getting too in depth with each individual character. But he does good damage. I think he's going to get here almost entirely off of that. His other abilities and kits aren't particularly good. I honestly think the 20% attack is fine, but that's not really unique. The concentrate, I think, is pretty terrible. And a lot of his other stuff is like, he's just like fine. I don't know. It's like he does one thing, but he does that job really well. He lowers defense, and then he does pretty consistently high damage, which I guess is all you want. So like he definitely deserves a B spot, but I don't think he earns a spot in A tier. Blade is a unit that I have not used literally at all. I think Blade is B tier. Even though I haven't used them at all, I do think Blade is really good. A lot of people really rely on Blade for the dodge ability here. Like if you come back here and you look at fancy footwork, this isn't unique to him, so I'm not going to put this like, this isn't, it's a really insane ability, but it's also on recruited assassin. However, the reason why this guy is so much better than recruited assassin is that he's also is just going to be attacking shit, right? He does the assist attack. Assisting attack against all enemies within 3 tiles, dealing 15% physical damage, dispelling a buff. And if you get him more stars, he even does more. And then if he gets a bunch of buffs, he gets a high crit chance. And he's also, like, he is a seeker. He has a little bit of range here, but he also has the ability to get behind people and instantly kill them, recover their energy. Honestly, he's just a great character. But I haven't really ever needed him for anything, so I don't want to put him in A tier because I've never, like, been at his, like, oh, what's the character I need right here? Sorry, I just noticed that I was zoomed in. I had it zoomed in for this screen. That way everything would be easier to see, but then I realized when I jumped into the game, you guys can't fucking see what I'm talking about. So we'll see if I record that or re-record that. But the reason I can't put him in A tier is I've never had a situation where it's like, I need this character. Although, like, the only reason I would ever feel like I need this character is because of dodge, and it's not unique, but he is just straight up better than recruited assassin. So I definitely, like, I think he's super good, but I still am gonna put him in B tier for now. Maybe I'm totally wrong, and I will learn more. Butterfly, I think, is gonna be our very first A tier character. Yeah, I think she's gonna be our first A tier character. So Butterfly is actually, like, just kind of insane, but she doesn't really do that much damage, but she doesn't need to do that much damage, right? There are damage characters, there's not. So passively, she's dispelling debuffs from AoE, from 3 random allies right now at her current stage. I think it goes from, like, 1 to 3, right? From 2 random allies, then it goes up to 4 random allies. So it does get quite a bit better once you get up to 4 allies, of course, because there's usually 5 allies in a fight, or, you know, 5 characters. She does it from the other 4. And she grants them buffs to replace that. So honestly, that's an insanely good passive to just have. Not to mention, she also has one of the best, like, freaking, what Blessing is really good also. If you need the people to debuff, she's really good at debuffing people. She does it passively. She has an AoE that does it as well. Also heals a buff, and it turns them into actual buffs. The Enchanting Dance, able to instantly swap position with any character within 3 tiles. So you're able to do this with an ally or an enemy. And then they get Shift, where they get, it's either her or them. I actually can't, I haven't used it. But attacks inflict critical damage when it's a back attack, guaranteed, insane. Having a teleport is really good, especially when it costs no energy to use. And of course, she has maybe one of the best abilities in the game, the Dance of Encouragement. All allies get 15% more damage within 5 tiles. They also grant lifesteal, and even though she's dancing, it doesn't stop her from taking her turns after this. So she can continue after using this to attack and stuff. She's not, like, stuck using this, like, aura effect, basically. Incredibly powerful ability. I think she's an A tier, but I don't think she quite makes it into S for me yet, but we will see when we get there. I might rearrange some of this as we go a little bit later. I think Knight whatever is an A tier. I can never remember her name. It's Knight something. Knight something. It is Knight Raven. Knight Raven. Knight Raven, I think, is one of the secretly highest damage dealing characters in the game. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about Knight Raven or use Knight Raven. However, I'm a huge Knight Raven believer. So if they get you know, let's just go with the 5-star stats here for now. 20% increased attack. And then if you attack something that has the Hangman's mark, you get a 30% damage boost at 5-star. That is so good. That's a lot of damage. But what's really important is that it combines super fucking well with her actual abilities here. So if we take a look at, I think it's, which one's her normal, her passive ability? Is it Eroding Darkness? I can't remember. Let's just go and take a look at these ones here. So she gets a Life Devourer, 3 energy, which is a lot. She is going to probably need Candlelight in order to make her really function and pop off. 150% damage. That's not incredible, right? But it is pretty good. And it heals her up to full at a range of 1 to 2. That's super important. The range is so nice on a character doing this level of damage. Settlement of the Hangman. This is not unique to her by any means, but it is very good. If you attack someone and they're dying, which is below 30% life, she does 30% life. That kills most things, but not literally everything. A lot of things will have resistance to it, but still, that is a nice chunk of free damage. And then Glare is fine. Dark Ripple is good, and I really like it. However, there's a lot of characters that have it. I actually really like her charged attack, because on turns, a lot of her abilities are expensive. So on turns where you can't use it, you do a little bit of damage, and you're buffing the damage of your next skill. So you're not losing as much damage as it looks like if you don't actually have constant energy. Also, as a chance to put people to sleep, which I really like, but I don't really use that ability, as you can tell. But this ability here, Darkest Annihilation, 180% damage, and gains armor piercing where you ignore 40% of their defense. This ability is fucking strong, bro. This thing hits hard at a range with 180% and armor piercing. Most characters don't hit 180% damages with damage percent numbers. Not only is this 180%, it also ignores 40% of defense, which makes it even higher than that. And not only does it ignore 40% defense and do 180%, again, you're getting the plus 30% damage from here. And if they're dying afterwards, after an attack, if they're dying, then you do an additional 30%, maybe just execute them. Night Raven is far from sustainable. Their energy costs are ridiculous, and they need some support in order to keep it up. But I actually think Night Raven does one of the best damages just straight up in the game, and I love Night Raven. I use Night Raven frequently. KA Archer, that's going to be our first D tier here. I think they are one of the worst units in the game. They have got some love. There are some people that think this unit is good. I just never want this unit almost in any situation, even in the fights where they appear to be good. Like, I'm always going to be using, if you don't have other gold units, then that's one thing. But like, if I have Ballista, I have Divine Grace, I am going to be using them over KA Archer. And the fact that I don't think I'll need 3 dedicated Archer units almost ever. And everyone gets Cal, so there's an easy third one there. So she's like 4th in line of shit that I care about. She has a terrible, most of her stuff is bad, but I will say she has a really high crit chance because, especially if you're going up against bosses, if there's no enemies within a 2-tile radius, she gets 35% crit. Her physical attack being conditional is kind of freaking lame, and it only caps at 12% at 5-star. Honestly, I mean, it stacks well with this, right? Because you basically get a 70% crit chance, which is good. But really, her only good attack is Cloud Piercing Arrow, which is 140%. The range is good, but almost everything she does is kind of dog water. Covering Shot could be fine, right? Because this basically does 160%, and you're getting crits on it. But, like, even the times where she could use it, I haven't felt really good about it. Basically, I think she just kind of sucks overall. Maybe you could do, like, a basic attack build, right? You get 30% basic attack damage every single turn. You're using your... what is it? She even just has a normal curve shot, so it's not even that good. But then you can increase the basic attack range by 1 tile, so now you're attacking further away with an extra 30%. And then physical attack increases, and then you always gain the Highland advantage. So this is a good way to stack some basic attack damage, but I still think it ends up being a little bit lackluster, at least for me, and I think she earns the lowest spot here. Abyss, I think Abyss is going to be our first S tier up here. Abyss has pretty much everything you want always, and doesn't have to work very hard to make it happen. If you have Abyss, you know what I'm talking about already. So if we come up here to Abyss, sure, her passive is one of probably the best traits in the game. Increase her magic attack, sure, whatever, we don't even care. But at the end of the turn, locks onto 2 random characters within 4 tiles and gives them a level 2 attribute debuff. A level 2 attribute debuffs are very strong. The randomness kind of sucks. But attack down 2, crit down 2, physical defense down 2, magic defense down 2, and no healing received. Level 2 is as high as it goes, I believe. And the reason I think that is because the healing received is just turned off. I don't know how they would do a level 3 attribute debuff for that version of it. But point is, these are all very good. The lowering of the crit is definitely the worst on average. But the fact that it's not physical attack and magic attack, it's just straight up attack, that is really nice. But if you're hoping to get one specific defense, it could be a little random, right? And sometimes you're going to low roll and get no healing received or crit down 2 on characters you don't care about that on. But overall, this is very good, especially when combined with Erosion, which I believe is their signature ability. Single target attack for 1 energy, 85% damage, inflicts 2 random level 2 attribute debuffs on the target. So you're doing 3 level 2 attribute debuffs per turn on a character of your choice, and a little bit of AoE on that aspect as well. It just works out super well. Like, you're gonna always get the nearly always get the level 2 attribute debuff that you want, and they're very powerful. Stacking buffs on your team while getting debuffs on the enemy team is super powerful. Now, she also has a bunch of other shit going on here that is really good. One, I don't even have this ability, but it's fucking sick. a range 3 attack to put someone to sleep, that's huge. Nightingale does it only adjacent, like one of the adjacent squares, but it is a instant speed, so it doesn't take up her turn. But still, range 3 is fucking great. You can only do it once every 4 turns, but sleep is insanely powerful. Dark Withering, this is a classic, pretty good ability. I don't think it's particularly good on Abyss, but still, it does do 100% of your magic damage to all enemies over the course of 2 turns, which is, it is good. It is good, especially, I believe life loss, it says debuff. I believe it counts as damage over time damage though, and I think if you have the ability to increase damage over time on a character. Also, this is actually kind of good because this gives you a chance, if you, let's say, if you go up and you use this on them, you don't do all the damage up front. That's kind of good because now you have more chances to land the magic defense down. So this will actually end up doing more damage than if it just did all damage up front, but still all damage up front would be good as well. Don't get me wrong. Corruption is very good. Sorry, not corruption. Protection of darkness, take 30% less damage if they have 3 debuffs. That's very easy. Void Ripple is not unique to this character, but fuck, is this ability strong. It is so good. It's a 70% AoE, which is not great damage, but it's enough where you're going to notice it. And it inflicts passive. It seals passives and it seals reactions. Bino, the turn off character's passives, is fucking huge. I actually don't believe this works with traits, but there are a lot of very powerful passives. So the fact that it's just good AoE, and sometimes you use it for the damage, sometimes you're using it to turn off the skills, but the fact that you don't need to sacrifice either of them is very good. Dark Ripple is going to be your best friend on a lot of characters, and I highly recommend taking it. And it's better on Abyss than anyone else because she has the energy restoration. A character like Lash that has it, it's much worse on because of the energy cost. She just can't maintain it. But she also has the Drifter Leader's Aura, which I personally really love. And then again, another chance to maybe turn off passive skills. I wouldn't really do that. You know, both of her attacks are kind of bad, but honestly, she does her job. She debuffs, and you know what? She debuffs well. S tier, Dark Light Fire Priest. I think he is a B tier. I think we're gonna go C tier. He has a major issue, which is fine. It's not like major, but the big issue with Fire Priest is that there's other replacements that are just better. Nearly always and his talent is like, if he's injured, he counterattacks with a weak fire AoE. It's just like, that's kind of bad. He could turn off healing received, but I already, like, if I care about that, I'm probably already, it's only a 50% chance, I'm probably already bringing Abyss. He has some pretty good AoE, but they're kind of expensive and on cooldowns, where if you have like Fire Pillar, it just does more damage. Fireball is good, but every fire character has it. It's not unique. Now, I do think Ignite is actually like kind of legit. I wish I would have gotten this one. Both of these first abilities are his 2 best abilities, I think, for the most part. Right? The ability to do 60% fire AoE in a 3x4 area, that's a big AoE, but it's still like the damage isn't that good. And like Void Ripple hits probably all the same targets. It also does more damage. It also does the, so this can set tiles on fire if they're flammable, but that's a big if. They're not always flammable. If you're putting down like Liquor, now you're talking about legendary combos with other characters. It's just like, it could be good, but when it's good, usually Fire Pillar does the job just as well. Ignite, I actually think it's good. The fact that this is a range 5, can go down 8 and up 6, this is actually like kind of fucking legit. You could guarantee turn off healing at a massive range and Scorch them, so you do 40% damage, but then you're doing what, an extra 20% of their max life. It's slow, but I actually think this ability is kind of fucking sick. Other than that, Burnout is just a really bad version of another ability another character has, and it only has a range of 1 to 2. You could do it every turn, which is definitely good, so you get some good damage, but again, I feel like this is like, the damage isn't good enough for me to want to use it. If this applied Scorch after you did it, I think now we'd be talking, because that would do an extra 10% damage, and it would it would redo the duration. Flaming Meteor, for the most part, is a bad ability, but it's not terrible. This ability is fine. Barrel has it, so that should give you a sign that it's good. It has a big AoE, but you have to combo this with something in order for it to be good. You're not willing to wait the turn, and it actually takes 2 turns to use it, right? Because you prepare for a turn, but then when you actually use it, you skip your turn. So you're actually doing like 70% AoE over 2 turns. And even when you are doing the 70% AoE over 2 turns, I would rather be using Void Ripple nearly always, because it does additional effects. It's gonna work out for the same amount of damage. So I'm sorry, Darklight Fire Priest. I'm just not that into you, even though I do like you. Darklight Ice Priest. I'm tempted to put this guy in B, but I'm gonna bump him up to A because other people love him, and I like him a lot too, but other people like him for a different reason than I do. So basically, this guy can tank almost anything. When you're attacked and in the injured state, you gain a physical shield equal to 20% of your HP. That's pretty insane. I also love energy restoration. It makes him better than PayPal in some situations, because PayPal, you always run into this issue. On turn 3, you run out of energy, right? You only have 1 energy because you start at 3. You go down to 1, then your turn starts, you go up to 2, and then you go down to 0, and then your third turn, you don't have enough energy. This means he never has to miss a turn of using Ice Cone, literally ever, which is fucking huge, by the way. He does have the defense enhancement, which is not unique to him. It's fine, but I actually think this could be better on him than other characters. If the character has no physical shield at the start of their turn, you gain a physical shield. So this character is like deceptively tanky. You could build all HP on this character and do something incredibly powerful. Basically, if you just go straight HP, he is going to have a lot of shield, right? Because you're basically getting double the effect of every point of HP. You're getting an additional shield on top of that, so you're getting more effect than most characters. Being able to Ice Cone every turn is very, very good. And then both of these ultimates are so good that that's going to bump them up to A tier, I think. Single target attack deals 80% damage and inflicts move -3 for 2 turns. And if they already have move down, you just freeze them. This ability is so fucking good. It's so fucking good. It's like doing move -3 makes it so most enemies just can't move. This allows you to cheese a lot of content because the enemy just literally can't move. Especially even if they have 4 movement. If you have 5 movement is where they could still move a tile, but if you give them 4 movement and you set the ground on fire around them, or you put ice around them, they just literally can't move. Because it takes 1.5 movement, they're at 4 movement, they go down to 1, they can't afford to move through the fire tile, so they just sit there. And if they're at 3 movement, it already stops them. And if they already have movement down, because you did like, I don't know, a foot shot or something, now you just freeze them. Freeze them is like the best control in the whole game. It is hard to... The only bad thing about freeze is that a lot of bosses and a lot of tough enemies are immune to it, because it's both control and a bound. Sometimes enemies will have like resistances to specifically bound or specifically control, and the fact that it has both of those tags is a pretty big negative. That's because it's so powerful. It's probably going to work in PvP super well. So you can't take any actions, but you also gain immunity to all physical damage, but that is not include magic damage. So it's disabled upon taking fire AoE damage. Just hit them with normal magic damage and absolutely fuck them up for 2 turns while they are stuck there. But also, Icy Shield, woo, grants a target a physical shield equal to 130% of the character's magic attack for 2 turns. This bumps this character up to A tier for me. Otherwise, B tier, because I think this is a little bit narrow and I'm comparing them to Ice Priest. But if you get Icy Shield, this is only 2 energy with no cooldown. Every turn, you start with guaranteed 20% of your HP, and then this gives you 130% of your magic attack for 2 turns. You get to just stack so much shield on yourself. This becomes one of the tankiest characters in the game, and you don't even have to touch their HP. It's actually kind of insane. And you could you could go totally different directions with this character. Get the defense enhancement, increase your physical defense so you take less damage. It's not a great ability, but it is something. And then just stack your shield. And then if you ever get to the chance where you actually are in danger of dying, if you're attacked when attacked and in the injured state, you instantly get a shield. The way it's worded implies that the shield happens before you get attacked. They're going to come up to attack you, and as a reaction, you're going to get a 20% shield. Not that you take the hit and then you're injured, and then you get the shield, or you're already injured, you take the hit, you survive, then you get the shield. This implies that if you're in the injured state, so below 70% HP, but above 30%, you're going to instantly get a shield, which is insane. Very, very good character. Not as much for the control-y elements, which they are, because Ice Cone is insane, this is insane. Ice Lance is fine, it's actually pretty good damage, but having that whole aspect of tankiness, which is I did not even look for when I was looking at this character, is actually huge. Divine Grace, I think, is going to be our first S tier, not our first S tier, our first S tier archer. So I'm a big fan of Divine Grace for lots of reasons. God, this video is going to be long. It's all right. We're in it together, boys. So Divine Grace is basically your best damage dealer at a range that is like, I even think they out damage Night Raven, because they don't need any support. So they also just get, if they have 3 buffs, right, which is pretty easy to get. Actually, what is the 5-star version? They get 15% physical attack and 35% more damage when having 3 buffs. That is a lot of bonus damage, but it doesn't end there. It's so easy to get 3 buffs on this character. You just have Angel heal absolutely him at all. You're guaranteed to get 3 random level 1 attribute buffs. Boom, you're activated. It's basically no cost. All right, and then if we look here at his, what is his signature ability actually? Is it the, I think it's the knockback shot, which is really good, but I don't care about that literally at all. But if we look here, he's got some pretty good AoE fire damage. I don't really care about that. I care about something like this. This does 160% damage, which doesn't sound like a lot, but again, this character's damage is really high. But really what's good is, I mean, I don't want to undersell this ability. It does do AoE damage, and it does do fire AoE damage, so it can set tiles on fire. It's like good, but it's not like incredible. It more looks cool than anything. But these buffs keep stacking here. The character gains 15% bonus attack and 30% bonus defense while not affected by any debuff and affected by at least 3 buffs. This Angel makes it so fucking easy to proc. This is already what you're trying to do on this character, and so this just makes his attack go through the roof even more. Then, when it increases healing received by 10%, and when you receive healing, get damage too. Another 20% damage increase for a turn. And you have an AoE 20% crit if you want him to be more support. However, you might want to do storm sniping here. I definitely think it's viable because this will be your highest damage attack. But I wanted the more support route. And then when you get up here to rank 9, you're probably just going to do critical strike. Actually, sorry, fatal attack, just do a bunch of damage, extra crit damage. Honestly, it's like, it's just all these stacking effects working together. And because, like, I would probably take off the crit command if this is going to be your main damage dealer. I used him as a secondary damage dealer combined with Ballista. And I wanted basically then to be able to crit. But these are all stacking. Damage increase, attack increase, crit increase, damage increase, physical attack. And they end up just doing an absurd amount of damage. Probably, like, they out damage most characters in the game when you get everything actually stacked and going. I don't know if they're going to do like the one-hit challenge that Nungal can do, but I do think that this is a super powerful character. They don't have any way to ignore defense, so you are going to want someone to both buff him and debuff the enemy, but I think that's kind of a common theme anyway. Enforcer. Enforcer gets a lot of hate. I'm going to put Enforcer in B tier. I would like to put Enforcer higher as he's one of my favorite characters in the game. However, I've almost never had a reason to use him ever. But I like so much about Enforcer, but I think he might be like legit, mostly a PvP unit. It's hard for me to decide. I don't know if a 3 movement character is ever going to be a super without much range is going to be a PvP character. But I like so much about the kit, but I just haven't really found a reason to use him yet. Brutal Blow, very powerful. 130% damage. You get 40% attack or physical and magical defense. That's a lot of defense. Super, super good. He has energy depleting blow. So if you actually hit someone, you just take away all their energy, right? So now they're just sitting there auto attacking, and you actually got to do a super powerful auto, or a pretty powerful auto attack as well. I love concussion here. After attacking, you inflict speed -3 on a target for 2 turns. That is -150 speed. So if a character moves up and then Enforcer can get there and attack them, they're going to lose 150 speed, meaning Enforcer is going to get another turn before they get a chance to go again. So you basically get to skip someone's turn, gives you a ton of time to maybe kill them before they ever get a turn. In a lot of ways, it can act as if it's a stun. He doesn't have any AoE to my knowledge, but he also has increased movement. So actually, yeah, he has 4 movement. That's fucking good. I love Enforcer, man. I forgot that he has the increased movement. So that's super nice. At the end of the turn, you lock onto the closest enemy and you give them the Hangman's Mark. Whether you get attacked the Hangman's Mark, you take less damage. That's pretty good too. But the fact that you get to just put on a Hangman's Mark for free, he doesn't really use the mark himself that much. He does have the ability to get the settlement of the Hangman, which could over 2 turns, right? You go up, you hit someone, and then you get them to the, you attack them again. They get to the dying state. That could be good. The Luxite Dust Bomb is ironically pretty bad comparatively to the other Luxite. Being able to give everyone magic defense is good. Having tenacity, right? I like that Watchers aren't going to just fucking obliterate them. This ability is good too, but I don't care about that. I honestly think there's a lot of Watchers in the game, and him being a little more resistant to it is going to be super good. And this is what's tough. I love both of these abilities so much. Hangman Blessing is good, but I don't know if I'd use it on him. The counterattack mode is actually kind of fucking sick. This is more of a PvE ability, but you get 20% of your physical attack to your magic defense and physical defense. You get strike back damage increased by 50%, and you get preempt, and your strike back range increases by 2 tiles. This means you get preempt, which allows you to attack before someone attacks you with 70% damage. You get 50% more damage on top of that, and you get to do it at a range of 3 instead of a range of 1. So someone's going to come up to attack you. You're basically turning it into suppression, but maybe even more damage. If someone's going to come up to attack you, you preemptively attack them first for a big chunk of damage. And you're also kind of a tanky character, so you don't take that much damage. Super good ability. I love it. But I think people just ignore him in PvP. I love that he has built-in lifesteal as well. He doesn't need to rely on a healer. You could do the attack down 1. I don't think that's as good as just being able to heal yourself. So one of my favorite characters that I just haven't really had a chance to use. I'm not sure where I'm going to use them, but the extra movement seems fucking sick. But I'm not sure yet. I think I need to level them up where they get the lifesteal so that they have their own sustain, because they don't have any other sustain like that. But I think counterattack mode might be fucking legit. So I'm going to try him. I actually think I'm going to try him today. Flame Sorceress is probably high A tier. I could be convinced otherwise. Flame Sorceress is another great character. Her passive traits is one of my favorite. 2 random enemies get scorched at the end of her turn. That is so fucking nice. Does it go up to 3 enemies? 2 enemies within a 4-tile radius? No, she just gets a little bit more damage. So as long as you get her to 3 stars, she's basically at full power. And she has a lot of stuff. Fire Pillar is, I don't love this ability. However, there was a level in Tower where if they're on flammable ground, this is just insane, because this is basically like Barrel's Firewall or a Molotov if they're on ground that could turn to fire. So that becomes insane. Scorch, again, is powerful, but not super unique. But she has blazing, so she's inflicting Scorch on another enemy, like within 3 tiles. So she's inflicting 3 things with Scorch. But the good thing about this is that this can stack with this. So if there's only one character around her that is injured, she will Scorch them with the trait, then she'll Scorch them with this. So you're applying 3 stacks of Scorch to a character per turn. It's not stacks, but you're doing like 20 to 30% before you even calculate how much damage she's doing. So very powerful attack. She does a lot of damage, but she has like such little utility outside of that. She's just basically a damage dealer, and her damage isn't crazy. It's mostly based off the Scorch mechanic, which is good. Although Wind Rider is obviously insane. But because I have Gloria, I haven't valued this. Because I have March Command, I haven't really valued this, because this doesn't stack with March Command, I'm pretty sure. Actually, this does. Does it stack with March Command? I actually don't remember. But getting immunity to down, movement down is all. This is all fine. This is good, and I like it. But the other thing that she's really good at here is not this one. It's this one. She has a 200% physical damage. Sorry, 200% magical damage on Scorch targets. This is the highest percent I've seen on any attack in the game, as an individual number. So that's very good. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. So she could hit really hard. But I don't think her damage actually scales as well as like Divine Grace, because Divine Grace has so many built-in buffs, and she doesn't really do a lot of buffs on herself. She just has a high percentage attack while also being able to do Scorch. So I think she's a great character, but I don't think she gets into S tier. Flare, that is a D tier character. Sorry, Flare lovers. Flare, I think Flare is potentially the worst lower rarity unit in the game. I think Flare is down there. In fact, I got to scroll down. What level is my Flare? 38. What does Flare do? So Flare's best thing is that they have the Battle Flag of the Union. I'll admit they could block magic attacks. Okay, who cares? And then they're kind of like a shitty ass butterfly, right? Because like their whole thing is that they're going to attack and then they're going to heal everybody, right? They're going to attack and they're going to heal people based off 40% of your attack, which is like fine. But it's like, this is like a tank. I mean, I do kind of like that they're light, right? They're not a green boy, so they don't have any weaknesses inherently. That is definitely a benefit. Don't want to undersell that. But besides that, I mean, I just don't really like any, like, suppressive blow is good, but I almost never actually really need it because it only hits one target. But I mean, it's fine. I don't know, man. It's just like, she doesn't do anything well. She has like a bunch of support abilities, a bunch of healing abilities, but she's also kind of supposed to be a tank, but she's not that tanky. Her heals aren't that good. Her control is like fine, but it's not insane. I just think Flare is kind of like a snore fest and not particularly good. Let's take a look here. Upon receiving attack, heals the ally with the lowest HP. I mean, she's like a weird... I mean, maybe, I don't know. They are like a weird kind of supporty character. I do think Battle Flag of the Union is good, but overall, Flare, sorry, I'm a hater. This is, I mixed these two up. I thought that was K.A. Archer. This is Crimson. It's all right. We figured out our mistake. This is Crimson Falcon. That's my thumbnail. Don't look at that. How dare you? That went live today. I think that went live today. Crimson Falcon. Crimson Falcon is a good character. Now, I think Crimson Falcon is actually fantastic, but if you have Cole, you are almost never going to touch this character for any reason. They have nothing in their kit that makes them better than Cole. I think like literally nothing. Like Cole does almost exactly, is almost an identical character, but with better mobility, better damage, a better trait. But that doesn't mean Crimson Falcon is bad, and not everyone has Cole. So the fact that she just does a fuck ton of damage and can one tap almost anything and then move again afterwards is very good. She is definitely an A tier character. I don't want to let the fact that she's not as good as Cole hold her back. Fire Conjurer. This is one that I kind of need to remind myself her kit of because I don't use her that much, but I remember liking her. So Scorch, that's fine. Battle Flag of Iria, I do think is good. An AoE attack boost is good. It's kind of slow, but it is nice to have an AoE attack buff, and it's not magic or physical, right? It's everything, which is good. She has passive armor piercing, which is kind of fucking weird. And she gets 20% magic attack if there are 2 or more allies within a character. So she's actually better against really tanky units, but I have Edda, so I don't really value that much, but still it is relevant. Potential burst, that's fine. It's good. It only targets one thing, and it does give him 3 buffs. But again, if I'm looking to get buffs, I typically go with Angel because she gets to heal at the same time. Blazing is good, but I don't love it. You know what? I think she's just like super mid. I don't think she has the attack. Like, yeah, she has armor piercing. Yes, she has the ability to give everyone attack up. Yes, she has the ability to give herself damage up. Yes, she has the ability to have the passive of the Flag of Iria, but she doesn't have the attack to use it. Like, all she has is her damaging attack is Scorch, which is 125% damage. So she's not utilizing this damage very well. So I am going to give her, where's the thing at? I'm going to give her a B tier. I think she's actually closer to a C tier character. But I'm going to give her B tier because of the flag. I think the flag is good. K.A. Guard, I'm going to upset a lot of people because I just made a video on him. He's a C tier character. Not exceptionally good, but he is very good, very specifically in his niche. Resolve is a very good ability. Suppression has the exact same thing. You almost never want to use K.A. Guard over suppression, but it's okay because sometimes he is. Basically, here's what he does. He has leg slam, so he can knock something back in tower, and he's guaranteed to survive a single hit. That is very, very good. However, that is so niche and not insanely good. Also, apparently this is mistranslated or it's bugged. One of those two things. But people have been using this and saying it's not decreasing physical damage taken by 100%. So not 100% sure. He's not crazy tanky by any stretch of the imagination, other than the fact that he can guarantee survive a hit. I mean, he gets a big defense increase and it gets a guarantee to block when there are a bunch of characters around. I just honestly, like, I like this character and they are good, but their niche is so narrow and they're not like ridiculously unique in that niche that I think it's a C tier character. Probably not a D tier because, again, I do think that there are some levels on tower that I would probably not have been able to do without it. Light Conjurer, I think, is also C tier. I think I'm gonna get heat over a lot of these things. I don't like Light Conjurer. I think Light Conjurer kind of sucks, but let's go take a look at exactly what they do again. So they have the increased range of healing skills by 1. That is good. All right, I don't want to, that is nice. They have a AoE damage enhancement, but it's only for a single ally. I don't really like that. An instant single target heal that heals 10%, dispels 3. That ability kind of fucking sucks. A single target heal that dispels a thing. That ability kind of sucks. Now they do have Light of Purification. Let's take a look at their actual good abilities up here. Light of Purification is good. Regeneration 2 isn't insane, but dispelling 3 debuffs and a massive AoE, this shit's pretty good. It has a 4-turn cooldown, which is its worst part about it, but that's because it's a pretty good ability. Regeneration 2 is good as well, but it could be awkward if your characters are slow and they need to heal now. So it definitely could be awkward, but that is pretty good. Regenerate, kind of not that good. It's fine. Sanction, I actually like this ability, but I probably would have taken it over this, honestly. It probably should have. I think this ability is fine, but it's just like, there is a bunch of like, bleh, like whatever, right? Like the Light of Purification is pretty good, and every other ability is terrible. And I'm not going to run them specifically for that ability most of the time, except there is a specific fight and a weapon trial where this character becomes really good. Also, is this a lady? I think it is. I don't know why, it doesn't matter. All right, so I think they're sitting in C tier. They could go down to the highest D tier, actually. I'm going to put them in D tier. This is going to be top to bottom, left to right as well. So I'm going to put characters that I think are better on the left and characters I think are a little bit weaker on the right. Probably. We'll see how I feel about that later. Let's do it like this. All right, next up is K.A. Pikeman. Are you impressed that I can recognize them by looking at them, looking at their portraits? Would you have known that was K.A. Pikeman? Answer in the comments down below. K.A. Pikeman, I used to be really high on because I thought that Legacy of Comrades, when an ally in battle is defeated, you get a bunch of buffs. I thought that all this shit would work when Guzman goes down, but apparently it doesn't when he becomes a corpse because he's not technically defeated. I think it should work because the way his ability words is when defeated, transforms into a corpse, whatever. Physical defense down 2 and an AoE is pretty darn good. Co-attack is very whatever. I mean, it's like, if you could give co-attack to AoE, like to a bunch of allies, that becomes better, which is a skill that people have. You get attack and defense, but it's like, he's just kind of a lot of whatever. However, Insightful Bash is fucking great. The fact that I didn't take this ability is a crime, but it's specifically because I was trying to make a build with Guzman. This ability is really great. Maybe worth using this character in general, but I'm not 100% sure on that. When unharmed, you get whatever. Preempt is good. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to give this character a little bit of a bump. I had to remind myself of their kit a little bit, but the fact that they could do a 70% attack, and then you could do a second attack, do 140%, knock a target back 2 tiles, charge at a character, deals 30%. This ability kind of sucks, right? This ability kind of sucks. But Preempt is pretty nice. I like having Preempt. I like having Knockback Pursuit. I like having Insightful Bash. Just because I built this character bad doesn't mean that you have to. I think you are going to go into the high C tier. I still don't think you're insane. I don't think you're a D tier. But I do like those abilities. Maybe you're a low B tier. Maybe you're like the lowest B tier. Angel, easy S tier. I shouldn't have to tell you anything about Angel for you to understand that. But just to quickly go over Angel. Angel is the best healer in the game, probably. Maybe not as good as Anana, but for most people, this is the best healer in the game. She has a built-in passive where she gives everyone a bunch of buffs. If you stack her with, she also has Light of Healing, right? This heal is very strong. All allies within 2 tiles around the target, 60% of her magic attack, and you dispel a debuff. This ability is so good. Combined with the fact that she gets Flagellant, which means you want her to take 1 hit in the fight. That way she recovers 1 energy for the rest of the combat, which is really good because now she can use this every turn, which is what she wants. Gives AoE magic defense. Also, you can easily stack a Empress card on her, which makes it so this recovers actually 2. It dispels 2 debuffs instead. And if you get the legendary weapon here, the Reorganized Cube, you can make it so she's doing AoE, dispelling 3 debuffs while also applying 3 beat debuffs to all your allies. I mean, and everything she's got is just good, right? I mean, I wouldn't use the Protected, but she can make it so she's more tanky, but I like Light of the Protection. Sanction is pretty good too, but really it's Light of Healing is all you need. If you just Light of Healing, you have Flagellant, you're going to be Flatulence, sorry. You're going to be good. She's actually kind of sick with it. Increased healing effect. One of the best synergy characters because she makes all the PayPal people instantly, boom, their passives turn on. While also, even when, like, it's so nice because the PayPal's passives is get 3 buffs. Every character in the fucking game wants 3 buffs. So you're already trying to do that shit anyway. That's what makes PayPal characters so good, is like, you're already actively trying to turn on their buff. Knighted Guard, I think, is a B tier. Knighted Guard is good, but I used to be higher on him because I thought he was like the best damage dealer in the game for like a day. Because he has all these ways to get buffs, right? He could do vulnerable on a character, but then he can also add 40% of his attack. He has offensive stance, and he could do Knight's Glory, so he gets attack. And he also gets, you know, when he has physical shield, blah, 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 blah. And then he could dodge, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like not a big nothing burger, but he doesn't have an attack that really makes it work because you have the awkward situation where it's like, all right, I want to apply vulnerable too, but I want to then attack after I have vulnerable too. So he doesn't have like a second attack to really make it work. But if you actually go the other route, he is very tanky because he has one of the best, probably not the best, but he has one of the best physical shield builds in the game. Passively, I think it is the best if you're talking about doing 0 investment into it. Because just at the start of combat, you get a physical shield with 30% of your HP. You also get Knight's Glory, so you get another 20%. So he's starting combat with 50% HP as a bonus shield because of all of his cool heavy armor. You could even do heavy armor and get another 25%. So combat starts, you're at 75% bonus HP. The issue is it kind of doesn't really scale at that point. Like you don't have you have to use Knight's Glory every 4 turns. So he starts off very tanky with a good amount of damage, and it kind of falls off over the course of the fight. Still, I think they're a good character. I'm gonna move them to high C tier. Actually, I don't think they're quite B tier. This Pikeman, fuck. If I remember one ability of this guy, I'll be impressed right now. Let me take a look at him really quick. I know him because I've used all these characters for the most part, but I always have to remind myself. All right, extra HP and defense. Attack 15% of the character moves before attacking. I mean, that's very easy to do. Physical reflection. I love damage reflection, right? You reflect 30% of the damage taken back at the attacker, meaning if you give this guy no defense and an insane amount of HP, he probably has to live. But if you just give this guy like, I don't know, 5,000 HP and you just let things fucking hit him, that could be pretty sick. Before receiving a physical attack, a melee attack, you turn to face the attacker and you add 20% of your physical attack to your physical defense. Parry is fucking insane. Like, this is an ability that's better than you would expect. Because like you're immune to back attacks. Before receiving a melee attack, you turn to face the attacker and then you get bonus attack. That's like really fucking good, bro. That's like actually kind of insane. It makes him so much tankier than he looks like. Pursuit is good. You get basically a second attack, and you get a knockback things. I love Pursuit. Crescendo combo is also pretty good, right? You dispel debuffs and then you attack him for 160%. Pretty darn good. It can be a little awkward sometimes. Preempt is also insane. So this character is fucking good, bro. So you get to attack them, and if they're at full health, you get to attack them a second time. Then you get to parry. If someone attacks you, you get a turn to them, get bonus to your physical defense, and then you get a strike back. I assume that they work in that way, unless the reaction happens before the passive. I actually don't know. But you get a turn and face them, and then you get to preemptively strike them. Then you get the shield is not that good. When injured, you get more defense. I like this character. I think you're good. I haven't used you that much. Oops, sorry, wrong button. I want the music to stay on. I'm gonna put you in B tier. I think you're good. Lash is borderline S tier, but I think Lash needs too much support, so I'm gonna put Lash in A tier here. Lash is one of the best damage dealers because of her trait. Let's just look at her level 5 trait because we all have her at level 5 because we're all whales. After attacking, deal 30% of your magic attack as piercing damage. That means this ignores all defense to the target. After using a support or healing skill, additionally heals the target for 20% of her magic attack. Fuck that second half. No one gives a shit. You got Angel. But that 30% after attacking, that adds 30% damage to every number you see here. And sometimes it adds even more. So let's take a look. Her best ability is probably her starting ability here. This is Whip of Blame. Deals 60% damage to all enemies in a straight line. Then it attacks a second time and does 30% piercing damage. So the 30% piercing damage is already more powerful than at 30% on paper. Because again, remember, this is ignoring all defense. So it's going to do more damage than what you would think. Because if you look at piercing damage, direct damage, that ignores physical defense and magic defense. It also ignores shields, I believe. So if someone has physical or magical shield, I believe this pierces through that as well. But stacked with her passive, this does 60 plus 30% pierce, and then it does 30 plus 30% pierce. So it actually is doing 90% piercing damage and 60% normal damage, which is 150% damage overall, which isn't insane, but it is AoE, and most of it is piercing. So it's going to be doing more than that. Actually kind of crazy ability. Let's take a look at her other abilities here, because I think I picked some of the wrong ones here. Energy Ray, I actually think could be pretty good. I got this just so I could have a healing ability. I think this sucks, and I don't think you should take it. I almost never want to use this, but it does give her an emergency heal sometimes. This ability is so fucking strong. This ability is stronger on Lash than any other character, because you attack, and it does... this is the way when you attack everyone, it does the initial 30%. I don't think it triggers again on the 250%, but when you first do this, the worst thing about this ability is that it usually is delayed, right? So you do 100% damage, but it's at the end of their turns, so you have to wait 2 turns for it to do it. But you get an initial 30% damage, so you can actually use this to execute lower level things while also dealing damage to higher level things. You could use this to break barrels where you normally couldn't, and trigger like all kinds of stuff. So it's better on her than any other character, and it's already a pretty good ability. Magic defense boost, whatever. Protection of Darkness is great if you're running Abyss, because you get that 30% damage debuff all the time. The Highland thing, I don't think is easy enough to proc. Dark Ripple, again, very good. Remember, this is doing 70% AoE damage and 30% piercing damage. Fucking badass ability, bro. I did take the other one here because I didn't respect Dark Ripple at that time. I didn't realize how powerful it would be with her. I'll probably end up getting it at some point. But this is pretty good too. It gets some buffs. It does a heal, blah, blah, blah. I thought she was going to be a half healer, half damage dealer, so that's what I tried to do, but I was new to the game and I didn't understand how strong she would be. Dispelling Strike is good. Discipline is good. I actually love this. The fact that you do 60% piercing damage and then you're going to do another 30% piercing damage. That's a 90% piercing damage. It's not broken, but it's pretty good. If there's characters that are like stacking physical defense, this shit is going to be really, really good against them. So you are one of my all-time favorites. Lightning, I think, is an A tier character. I used to think Lightning was S, and I don't think Lightning is S anymore. However, Lightning is just fucking badass as shit, though. Lightning is one of my favorite characters for sure. You get a bunch of attack and defense. I don't know why it says increases physical attack by 15 and increases the physical defense by 15. It could just shorten that. But if the character is healthy, which is very easy, especially early in the match, and within a phone's threat range, gains disdain, decreases damage taken by 30% for 1 turn. This doesn't have any... This is all damage you take is reduced by 30% for 1 turn, right? And the fact that, like, you're going to be in their threat range. You're a Seeker. You're getting up in their fucking face, bro. And her signature ability that she starts with is Phantom Storm. One of the best, like, badass abilities in the game. 75% AoE in this massive area, and it also does attack down, which does help her survive, and does give move down, which helps her kind of tank if she's up front, because she could hit characters back here, and they're not going to have an easy time getting to your backline. Actually, kind of a fucking sick-ass like ability for sure. This is a very unique character. This is a tanky Seeker. This is like what happens if you combine an assassin and a tank together, and she does it very well. Battle Fever, after initiating an attack, you take 25% less damage if you crit, so you want her to get crits. But also, she has a passive called Lightning. Increase her speed by 50 points, so she actually becomes pretty darn fast. Not the fastest in the game, but still fast. Increase your crit by 50% if you move more than 3 tiles. So if you run up, you crit, and you do an AoE attack, you're likely to crit someone. You're debuffing them. You're also getting insane damage reduction. All the AI is going to come up, attack you, and deal no damage. Super badass ability. However, if you don't want Lightning, or if you want to spend Castilla, you could also get a Gale Dance. 75% AoE damage to all enemies within 2 tiles. Before attacking, you get crit too. So if you have this, if you move 3 tiles and you have this, you are getting what, an 80% crit chance in an AoE. So you're going to crit someone and you're going to trigger your hardening, or not your hardening, your battle fever. Crit command is good. I don't know if this gives her her own crit, but it could still be good. Knight's Glory is fantastic. Gives herself attack up, gives herself a shield, makes her more tanky. Honestly, just a fucking badass character. Also, I personally prefer the lifesteal over the debuffing because this character is on the front line. You want them to survive. I wish she had a crit thing that gave her increased crit chance on her auto attack. I think that would just make her tankier and good. Overall, fantastic character. Might. I think Might is like low B tier. I think Might is... Did I mix this character up with... This is Candlelight. We're going to switch this again. That's sorry. So you know what? Are you impressed that I get these characters mixed up? They look the same. All right. So Might. Might is fine. I think he's better than he looks. I think he kind of looks like dog water. And I think he kind of ends up being decent. But I think it's almost entirely on weapon trial bosses. That's it. Because most of his shit is like, right, he gets more attack if he doesn't move before attacking. But you really want him to be around people, but he's kind of slow and clunky, so it's kind of hard for him to be around people. But the aura of increasing everyone's attack by 12% within 2 tiles is huge. That is very nice. Also, he does have Ceiling Bash, which is pretty good damage, but again, he's kind of clunky. So it's kind of hard to actually land this on characters that are moving around, whereas it's pretty easy to land it just for the damage on other, you know, bosses. The fact that he gets scaling damage, right? After you being attacked, you get some damage up and you're decreasing the damage. That's pretty good. And honestly, Knighted Charge, Knightly Spirit is really good against the weapon trial bosses because you can only attack them from the front essentially anyway. So getting 20% attack all the time while also ignoring a lot more of, you know, getting a boosted defense is really good. Increase the damage of his next skill. I mean, all of his shit is just kind of fine. He does have this AoE that has physical defense down 1. I don't really value it that much. I don't think it's that good. I like Knight's Glory more. You see I have it a lot. After you do an active attack, deal 20% damage to all enemies within a 1-tile radius. Again, a lot of his stuff is like not that good in my opinion, but I do think against weapon trial bosses, the attack command combined with the Knightly Spirit is actually just like really good. Rage is probably better than the counter attack. For most of the time, but even this is pseudo healing and buff all in one, which is why I like Knight's Glory so much, especially because it's an instant. So good ability. I'm not like in love with him, but I do think he is better than what I've heard people say. I kept thinking that I was like, wait, is this Night Raven? No, that's definitely Night Raven. S tier for Nightingale. Nightingale is S tier primarily for tower. If you're not in tower, Nightingale definitely loses a lot of versatility. However, Weapon Eroder is good. Tranquilize, like outside of tower, these abilities are not insane. They're good. Actually, Burning Grenade is pretty good everywhere in the entire game. But this ability is way worse when you're not in tower. This ability is way worse when you're not in tower. Her passive is fine, but I'm telling you, in tower, this character is the best character maybe in the entire game, borderline, because of the Burning Grenade. Weapon Eroder and Tranquilizer is so good at manipulating enemies and controlling enemies for the tower that I actually think she is kind of legit. Outside of the tower, you might want to do something like Painkiller, give someone damage reduction 3. It's again, these abilities are fine. And I know it sounds like I'm a little meandering, but I actually think she's so good in tower that she is going to get the S tier from me personally. She's powerful in her niche. Outside of that niche, she loses a lot of potential, and I'm probably not going to use her outside of that content, but in tower right now, best character in the game and pretty much IMO. Candlelight, I think it's A tier. I don't think Candlelight's quite S tier. We'll put her high A tier though. Candlelight was one of the last characters I actually got in the game, and she has kind of a gimmick, which is give everyone energy. That's a good gimmick to have. All right, it's a good gimmick to have, but it is not like it's not. Sometimes it's really, really good. Other times I haven't really been like, oh, I really need this. But she does have like a decent attack. She can increase everyone's physical defense by 30%. Like this is really good. This is really good, actually. I love this ability. And then she kind of just recovers everyone's energy, right? Gives someone a single target 4 energy and gives them a fuck ton of good buffs. Give everyone a big AoE 1 energy, and it's an instant. This ability is fucking insane. The only bad thing is it has a 3-turn cooldown. She has a chance to recover her own energy when she gets hit. Wanted Notice, I think, is really, really good for the Hangman's team. You inflict Hangman on a target and speed -2, which is great. And then all allies heals everybody in like 4 tiles around the target. It gets a big heal. a pretty big heal. And you all get a boost in movement speed. So Wanda Notice is actually sick for the Hangman team. But Special Mission and Inner Light is really her bread and her butter. Outside of that, she's not really doing that much. Potential Burst is good, but I'm never taking it over Inner Light like in a million years. So I think she is A tier because she's just so obviously good in everything. But I don't think it's like S tier in my opinion yet, because like maybe I'm biased because I have Beryl. I have other characters that could recover energy. Some characters have self-sustaining energy. So I feel like she's more of a combo enabler than in like a core part of a specific team, as opposed to just being so fucking powerful everywhere. But I do think she's good. Outlaw Archer he's almost S tier, honestly. He might be S tier, but I'm gonna put him in A tier for now, and maybe we'll revisit this one day. You've heard me talk about Outlaw Archer more than once. I've talked about him a bunch. Outlaw Archer is, every time I look at him, he gets a little bit better. Even his trait is good, right? And physical attack, and then you have a chance to do debuffs. Level debuffs whenever you attack. Whenever you deal damage, it's even better. That means you could do your fucking Luxite Shrapnel deals damage. You could do AoE, has a chance to do debuffs. I mean, that's not as good as fucking Abyss, of course, but I mean, it could be better than Abyss. It depends how many gets. But every one of his skills is just fucking great, bro. Like, even his very first skill, foot sniping, is so good. It's not unique to him, but a 4 range, lower movement by 2, very, very good. I love that ability. Then we look at his other skills here. Right, even this ability is pretty good. It's an AoE, lower movement by 1. I don't use this ability, but it is actually pretty good. But Luxite Shrapnel, piercing damage, 10%. This is a tower all-star, 3 stacks of infection. It's even a combo all-star outside of tower if you're using something like Agile Eyes, I think, where you can now suddenly, like, if you get 1 more stack of infection, maybe you have the bow that gives you a stack of infection when you attack. Suddenly, you throw a Luxite Shrapnel and you just attack with Agile Eye. Now they have 5 stacks of infection and are put to sleep. That's fucking powerful. Weakening attack has a 50% chance to be good, a 50% chance to do fucking nothing, but it is still good when it goes off. It's really good when it actually happens. Curse, if you actually get hit by an active attack, you apply Vulnerable. If you live, insanely good. And both these abilities up here are great. After attacking, inflicts physical defense down 2 on the target for 3 turns. I said that kind of weird, but this is the exact same thing that fucking Ballista has, which makes him one of the best characters, and this character also has it. But Ballista has more overall damage output than this character, but this is still really nice to just have. And this Bear Trap is fucking insane against AI. If you just put this down, you're going to put this down and then move, and then characters will lose 10% of their HP and interrupt their turn when they walk onto it. Everything about this character is fucking fantastic. I love everything that they do. I wish that they were a gold character and that they can get a better attack and that you could make some of these abilities like a better version of what they are. But this is already one of my favorite characters in the game. But I do think that they are going to be mostly restricted to tower. Maybe some content outside of that, but I don't think they're quite, because most of the time, if I'm going to use Ballista over him outside of tower, but in tower, he's so good. And he also has more flexibility, because he can be in an infection team. He could lower movement really well. He can lower more than just their defense. The Bear Trap is really powerful, so super good. I can't tell which one this is. Both the assassins look fucking identical, so let's take a look here. How do I open the game? Do you guys remember? This is the Brown Hood one. I am going to put him... I'm going to put him in low C tier, probably the worst C tier unit. He has the Luxite Grenade like he does, and he has a lot of movement, but that's it. He doesn't really do literally anything else that I think has really any value, but I can't put him in D tier because he is going to help you in a lot of tower matches because he has that grenade, and that's that. Outlaw Axeman. A lot of people say, is it this guy? A lot of people say this guy is good. I disagree. I think he kind of sucks. I understand he gets 35% AoE damage. I understand that he has a 90% AoE thing. He has the ability to move a little bit more and climb, so it's fine. I mean, here's the thing. I don't think he's actually bad, but like he doesn't do anything better than Stormcaller. Stormcaller, and I know maybe like, but I'm not comparing it to a legendary. I'm comparing it to another unit on this list. And I don't think that they do anything that is very good, right? This doesn't actually give him more damage. This does. He does get more damage on this ability. Physical defense one is fine, but he just does so much less damage than Stormcaller, even though I will say he has the ability to get in there a little bit better. But I'm just not impressed. Having a throw is like kind of cool. It's kind of, but it's more thematically cool. I think he's D tier. I honestly don't think he's good at all. Outlaw Crossbowman, I think is C tier. I think you're reasonably high in C tier, but I think you're C tier. I think there are situations you're straight up better than your brother, and there are more situations where you tend to not be as good. The fact that you can apply in 2 stacks of infection whenever you attack is good. It's still not as good as the Luxite grenade though. Like you could do this every turn, but the Luxite grenade is just 3 right up front. The fact that you have shield breaking is pretty good. You actually do have this insane ability, 35% more damage when attacking enemies with a debuff. That is better than the one we just looked at. It's because the other character, the AoE guy, just had 35% as well, but it's so much easier to get a debuff than it is to use specifically an AoE attack, especially because specifically AoE attacks tend to have worse percentages on them. So this is 150% damage with shield break, but also, so you're going to get 30% more attack and 35% more damage if they actually have a shield. Armor Rotor is actually a fucking sick ass ability. Yes, the 30% isn't always as good outside of tower, but it can still be good in, you know, outside of tower for sure, depending on the target you're fighting. But also it does very good. It does the physical and magical defense down. So it's just like a flat defense down. Super good ability. I really like that one. 20% lens range damage is whatever. And pretty much everything else is not that good. Knockback shot is pretty good though. I would consider taking knockback shot if it wasn't across from Armor Rotor for sure. Overall, I do think he's good. I just feel like because he has 3 movement and he doesn't have like any real way to increase his range. Like he has this, but it's like in a straight line. I never feel like he is in the position where I really want him to be, but I still like him a lot, you know? This is recruited guard. Some of these bronze units, I just have to remember their name here. Let's take a look here. First of all, this guy has a bandana. This guy doesn't, in the same way. All right, what are you talking about, game? This character is good. This character hits hard, bro. Gains block when taking physical damage for the first time, front or side. Enemies gain 100% chance to trigger block. This is terrible. I take everything I've said back. This guy is dog shit. No, he's not dog shit. Burning Bridges. This ability does 150% damage, but before attacking, you also get offensive stance. This is what Knighted Guard has. Knighted Guard has offensive stance. This guy gets it for free attached to a good power. Then it happens with 4E attack. So you get 40% of your character's physical defense as physical attack, and you increase damage taken by 8%, but then you get to deal 150% boom damage. Huge hit, very powerful. He also has the rage, so he gets, you know, damage up to whenever he gets actually hit, which is frequently. Intimidate is actually pretty good. I don't love it, but I do like it. You might want to use Thorny Armor. Upon taking physical attacks, deals piercing damage equal to 50% of your physical defense. That's something you might want to do. I just like having the lowering attack because it helps everybody, not just himself. Rupture Armor is so close to being... The fact that this is 50% is keeping this character out of a higher tier level. If this was 100%, this would be a top tier. This would be borderline like S tier character, at least high A tier, I think. But because it's not quite there, I think that this ability is so important to go off, and the fact that it only happens half the time, it kind of sucks. But it does last for 2 turns, so on average you can maintain it, but not always. Especially on that first turn, it could be really lame. Knockback combo is also good, right? 30% damage, then performs a pursuit, dealing damage equal to 200% of the character's physical defense, up to 150% of your physical attack, so 180% damage, and you knock him back 2 tiles. Very good. I don't care about that one, but also even Weapon Eroder is pretty nice too, right? Weapon Eroder is not as good as Armor Eroder, again, because I kind of really want him to be able to fucking trigger this. If he had Armor Eroder instead of Weapon Eroder here, I also think it would potentially bring him up a tier, because he's mostly about dealing damage. The attack down is not as good, because I already have this. He already is going to be doing this on the most valuable target, because it does attack down to the highest physical attack for 2 turns. And that means every turn he does this, so the 2 highest physical attack characters are going to get constantly attacked down too, which is really good. But if this was Armor Eroder, I think the whole character kit would be way better. So you are going to be my highest B tier character. I think you're great, but I think you're you're so close to being like A or S tier, but not quite there. Something Pikeman, he's gonna be, I gotta put him below this guy, I think, because I think he's just worse than this guy. I'm gonna put him down here. Maybe above KA guard. I think he's good, but mostly he's being carried by one good ability on his entire kit, Outlaw Pikeman. He's being kind of carried by the Insightful Bash, because this ability is fucking insane. Single target attack, 120% damage, already good damage, but you also get to remove 2 buffs from the target. This is more rare than you would think. There's not a lot of ways to debuff the enemy. A lot of ways to remove debuffs from your team, not a lot of ways to remove buffs from the enemy. So it's actually harder to find than you would think within a lower rarity case. There are like Sanction, but then you want to get Sanction on your Angel and not heal. You want to get Sanction on Light Conjurer and then have to use Light Conjurer. I don't. So this is actually a really, really good ability. Imply Vulnerable 1 is also fucking sick. Is that his starting ability? It is. It's his passive starting ability too. Risky Move is he can actually do some damage. I like this passive, just 20% more physical attack. His passive is when attacking an injured enemy, he gets 30% more physical attack, right? So he gets like quite a bit of damage. The weakening attack is kind of weh. This is kind of weh. It's fine. Powerful Throw is kind of weh. You know, it's like these are all like kind of fine. You know, none of them are crazy. Although I do like this here. When attacking, if the character's HP percentage is higher than the target's, I should have gotten this one over weakening attack, especially because he already has I don't know. I just don't really like this ability that much, especially if you're running other characters. Someone else can do that job. Now he has 20% increased physical attack. He gets another 12% increased attack. He gets another 30% increased attack. He gets another, and then he's doing 120% attack. Like, he could do a lot of damage, but really, if it wasn't for Insightful Bash, his kit would kind of fall apart. This is a very good ability, because this also, like, Vulnerable is not the easiest thing to apply to enemies also. If this had Physical Defense down 2, I actually think this ability would be worse than Vulnerable 1. Because someone else could do Physical Defense down 2, where he doesn't really have, I mean, if this was Physical Defense down 2, this was, you know, Vulnerable 1, and then he had a other, like, he's close to being way better as well. His abilities are slightly off from what I would like them to be, but still, overall, fucking great ass character, and I do like him, and I do think but I think he's, where'd I put him? He's gone. Oh, there he is, in C tier. I think that's fair. I think he might be a little bit higher in C tier, actually, but I might be biased. PayPal Guard, easy A tier, let's go. Popping off right now. We'll put him about halfway up. Probably the tankiest character in the entire game, like, unironically. He might even be S tier. I'm gonna put him S tier, actually. I think he is straight up the tankiest character in the game. Even if you're including legendaries, I think he might be the tankiest one. He has a very, very important aspect to him that other characters don't have. He can, every turn, give himself a 25% shield and block enhancement. Block enhancement is good. This means when you actually block an attack, you block more. And then when you're hit by a physical attack, you're a 100% chance to trigger block. So you're guaranteed to be blocked from range attacks. And then when you do block, it also gives you an additional 10% damage reduction. So he has, the reason why he's so tanky and so good is he has the most amount of damage reduction stacks that you can get on any character that I'm aware of. And he also gives himself shield every turn. So he's kind of got a self-healing thing. This is really good to increase his maximum HP. It stops him from getting one shot pretty much all the time. His trade is insane. Game block, when the character has three or more buffs, physical damage taken is decreased by 15%. So you already get a 15% physical damage reduction, and you get a 100% chance to block. Pair it with Angel. This is always on every single time. Flagellant. You get, whenever you take damage, which is frequent as a tanky character that's designed there to take damage, you also get damaged. Every stack gives you damage reduction by 8%. And as long as you have one stack, you get energy every turn, meaning you can afford to use defensive stance every single turn while still attacking. You know, it's an instant. The attack isn't that important, but it's there. So this will go up to 8, 16, 24% damage. If he actually gets healed, which is going to happen, he gets damage reduction too, another 20%. And then he also has a jumps in front of an ally to block for him, gets 20% more physical attack here. And we're not even talking about Invincible, which is very viable to take. Damage reduction 4, Mind's Eye, immunity to disrupt. Just absolutely a fucking tank character that will not die. Heavy armor is also viable here instead of guard, because you don't need guard in certain weapon trials. You just want the extra physical shield. Absolutely an all-star, tankiest character in the game, probably, no matter, even if you're considering other characters. PayPal Ice Priest, you're gonna see there's a lot of PayPal. Look at this, PayPal. There's a lot of them up here. PayPal Ice Priest, I'm gonna put him above Abyss. I think he is probably the best. He's one of the best lower tier units, if not straight up the best lower tier rarity unit in the game. For lots of reasons. His passive is kind of cool. It's kind of there, but it's not insane. But really, Ice Cone is insane, right? Ice Cone is very, very, very good. The other Ice guy has it and can use it more consistently, but they both have it, and most of the time you're going to be happy with this guy's version of it, even though he runs out of energy. But this guy has two major things over the other character. He has a AoE push, which is so good. When you're putting down ice and then you push them, it pushes way further than, you know, it pushes plus ice tiles further away. So this could push up to 5 tiles for a character if you have 3 ice tiles behind him and you push them. But even if it's not that much, just going to 3 push or 4 push is insane. Also, it lowers their movement, so it's harder for them to get up to you. Easy to knock shit just off the tower, you know, off walls and off shit to kill them. Also does pretty decent damage. This ability is fucking busted. It is so good. Not to mention, the other thing he really has is he is the fastest character in the entire game. He always goes first. Every single enemy in the game is slower than him. I believe actually Simona has 271 speed, so I think that's kind of funny, but they made her 1 speed faster. That way you don't have a reason to run him over her, but still. Fastest character in the game, some of the best abilities in the game. Even Ice Age is like, I don't use Ice Age that much because other abilities are so good, but if you really need a fuck ton of ice down, this is really good. I do think Ice Shock is probably better because typically I just want to ice one direction. This tends to get your team, so I probably would change that. Ice Lance is good also if you want to go more damage. Less AoE damage from all your allies. Every ability here is fucking great, bro. Every fucking ability here is great. Actually, S tier character, easy, hands down. No one will argue. PayPal spear thrower. Why do I call them spear thrower? They have one job. They throw a spear. Everything else on them is fine. They have like all the benefits of PayPal guard. They have all the benefits of all the other PayPal characters, but they have one major drawback is they don't really have a good way to do a bunch of damage all the time. I wish they had a better attack. So they have like, also their passive is not that good. When they have 3 or more buffs, you get 1 more basic attack range. Oh man, Divine Grace is looking at you and laughing right now. Divine Grace is laughing at this character. You do get the damage up too, and then when you have this up, you get another 15% attack, and you have Pursuit, which is good. I mean, this character is good. They do damage, but they're not great. Their Spear Throw is probably their best ability, because Crumbling Smash, if this had like, they have to have a shield or this ability sucks. And if they have a shield, a physical shield, you probably want to be doing magic damage anyway, but it's like, they're good, they're fine, they have a lot of good stuff going on, but they're just not quite, they're not quite where they need to be to actually be good. They need another more powerful ability. If they have like a better single target attack, I mean, they have Pursuit. Like, Pursuit is good, but it's just not quite there yet for me. I think they're just short of, I think they're missing like one ability to really make them like a fucking insane character. Also, their trait kind of fucking blows. You don't really care about one range on your basic attack most of the time. I mean, it's okay, it's good, but I wish she had something else going for her. I think she's the worst of the PayPals. You are so fucking generic looking. Who are you? I know you're a common, but let's take a look. Which one are you? You're this one. You are F tier. You're a borderline L tier. Not good. D tier, probably worse than Flare, and I know that's impressive. His trait is like 25% attack when attacking an enemy from the side or behind. That's already not the highest percent. It's for a ranged character, it's harder to attack someone from the side or behind because characters are usually facing you. You have to really flank around to get this. This is kind of rough. Alert Shot is like fine. I mean, it's because it does 100% damage twice, which is good. So you could do some pretty decent damage here. But I don't love it. I mean, I do love it. I just don't love it on this character. He has the ability to maneuver around, yes, and he has some powerful shot, but I really think like it just doesn't quite come together. I mean, Shooting Stars is pretty good, and foot sniping is good too. I might be being a little too rough on this guy. But I'm comparing to Outlaw Archer, and I'm like, Outlaw Archer has so much flexibility and interesting things. He does have, like, here's the thing. A lot of this guy's kit is based on doing damage, right? It's like, all right, you do extra damage to healthy things. You do, this ability is great, actually. You know, you do some damage and you lower their movement. You do, when healthy, increase defense by 20%. Who fucking cares, bro? Alert shot does good, like, high percent damage. It does effectively 200%, 100% on 2 different targets. But, like, he's a copper unit, a bronze unit, a common unit with low stats, and he doesn't have any real buffs. Like, the characters that do a lot of damage have a lot of ways to buff their attack to get a lot more out of it. He doesn't really do that. He's just kind of weak, that's all. But this ability is great. This ability could be worth just bringing him, but it's once every 4 turns. But you do good AoE damage, and you do physical defense down 2 on all those targets. I don't think it's good enough to bring him. I still am going to keep him exactly where he's at. We are going to put Recruited Assassin up in the B tier. He has to go behind Blade because he does a very similar job, just worse than Blade. Blade might even deserve a little bit of a bump now that I'm here, but let's just keep going for now. We'll revisit it at the end here. So he's basically fancy footwork on a body, right? 50% less AoE damage, kind of is who cares, but gain 2 dodge attempts for 2 turns. So you are able to dodge a fuck ton of stuff. Blade also has this, and Blade does more damage, so I think Blade is better. However, this ability is so good that it doesn't really matter who you have it. Sometimes you may not want Blade for whatever reason. You know, maybe you don't want to use that thing where he does follow-up attacks. Also, this character has more maneuverability in general. I think they have the, they can attack and then move afterwards, which is really good. Also, hookshot is like fucking great. Hookshot is really good. I love hookshot, man. Ambush is kind of terrible on him, but hookshot is like really, really nice. He does have climb, increased crit is whatever, but he's really fancy footwork and hookshot. You bring him because you need the dodge shit. That's it. He is here to dodge things and live his happy life. Blade is kind of, I think honestly the hookshot makes him as comparable to Blade, because sometimes this is just really good. Blade can fulfill the role for the most part, but then also is just like does a fuck ton of actual damage. Blade is like really good. I know that I don't use him that much, but Recruited Assassin has gotten me through a lot of hard times. This guy right here is a fucking character. All right. He's not only is he in the game, but there he is. Recruited Guard. This is my most underutilized, powerful character that I've used. Another super tanky character. I don't know if I'm going to use him over PayPal Guard, but he has some really, really good stuff here. If you're not running Angel, I think this character is probably tankier than PayPal Guard. PayPal Guard, I think, needs that, he needs those 3 buffs, or he doesn't really do anything. Or his tankiness goes way down. So, when attacked from the front, the damage taken is decreased by 15% and your block chance is 100%. Oh, well, only while attacked from the front. That's kind of hard to do. It's not really hard to do at all. One, he has the defensive stance, so he can keep giving himself more HP, which is one of the things that makes PayPal Guard so good. But also, he has Global Guard here, which is great. So, where the fuck is it? There it is. Takes physical attacks for other allies within 2 tile radius of the character. When activated, the character gains counterattack, who don't care, and block enhancement. So, this basically makes it so you already have 100% chance to block, and you take 10% less damage. So the reason this is good is because when you take physical attacks for an ally, you jump in front of them and you block guaranteed, and they always attack your front. So they're always attacking the front of you. And I think what really, really brings this guy to the next level, this is good. The fact that he's so tanky because he jumps in front of characters and always gets hit from the front is a really, really strong benefit because he has front defense. 30% reduced damage when attacked from the front. That is so good. When you're stacking it with this here, when you're taking damage taken decreased by 15% when being attacked from the front, combined with another 30% damage when being attacked from the front, on top of having guarantee, essentially, when they're attacking an ally to be attacked from the front, it just makes them super fucking tanky. You could even throw in a shield to give him a little bit more defense. He also has another ability to grant him more defense. And then, I mean, this ability is pretty good. Speed -2, I think, is actually great. For no energy, I would consider using that. But also, then he's just got right here just a stun a single target. This is really nice to have in a back pocket for a character that's not about dealing damage, but about keeping people safe. This ability is actually really good. So I think this character, even though I haven't used them, is fucking sick. I think they're actually going up to A tier. I think they're that good. I actually do. I don't think they're S tier like PayPal Guard, but I actually think they have real A tier potential. They might be high B tier because of PayPal Guard existing. I think that's what we're going to do. but absolutely a character I love. All right, we're on the home stretch here. We're on the home stretch. So we are going to go to, oh my God, this is going to be a 2-hour video, bro. Who is this guy? Recruited Pikeman. All right, Recruited Pikeman, I think is good, but I think he's suffering from being a common unit with lower stats because a lot of his stuff is about dealing damage. And that's like fine. Like I really like this passive, but I would love this passive on a gold unit. Holy shit, would I love this passive on a gold unit. When hit by melee attacks from the front, take 15% less damage. That's fine, but when attacked, deals piercing damage equal to the attacker equal to 30% of your physical attack. So he always counterattacks whenever he gets attacked at all. That's pretty darn good. He also has a knockback, which is pretty good. He also, you know, so that means if you have counterattack here and they attack you from the front or the side, you are going to counterattack with 30% and then counterattack with 70%, which is pretty nice. Both of those could trigger rupture armor. He has high alert, which is, I think, kind of whatever on it. Like that range is so little. If it interrupted their turn, I would think it would be better. AoE physical defense down level 1. AoE physical defense down level 2. I mean, he's like fine. He's just not quite there yet. I think his like really cool passives is that when he gets attacked, he is going to counterattack twice, which is pretty good. But I just don't think he's quite there. I like it, but I don't think he's quite there from a stat standpoint. I think he's probably going to go high D tier for me personally, dog. All right. Let's go ahead and... Oh, sorry. I already forgot who the next character is. This is... Don't tell me that's Enforcer. Some of these fucking characters with these fucking masks, bro. I'll know who that is. Give me a second. Stinger. It's Stinger. Stinger is fucking badass. Super cool. I love... The best thing about Stinger is that he could do the Hangman's Mark at the end of the turn, which also does damage. It's pretty good damage too, and he gets extra damage when he's attacking characters like that, and he doesn't get rid of it, which is pretty cool. I think applying the Hangman's Mark is probably the best part of his kit. However, Shadow Assault, no joke, pretty fucking good. 130% damage, gain a dodge. This makes it so enemies will waste at least one attack on him trying to kill him, and they will not succeed. Infected Dagger does pretty good damage and 3 stacks of infection, combined with Lexite Shrapnel does also 3 stacks of infection. So he kind of has like an infection sub kit, which is really good. I really wish this did 4. I wish one of these did 4. This is single target. If it did 4 infection, I would think it maybe isn't broken, but it would be one of my favorite abilities. You could also just have him be a straight up assassin. I was using him for tower, so I like to have an infected dagger, but Settlement of the Hangman is going to help him execute things. Army Bane Blade, 170% damage before attacking, inflicts isolate, which means that they can't get, they get no auras, and I don't believe they can get assist attacks, right? Oh, after dealing damage, inflicts no assist on the target for 2 turns. If it happened before an attack, that would be much better, but people are going to be able to assist cover this, which I think is a little bit lame. I don't think he's like insane, but I do think he is quite good. I do like mostly he's just going to go up and stab things and apply the Hangman's Mark. I think he's good, but I'm not going to put him like A tier. I think he's just like somewhere in the B tier, probably better than Might. Probably not quite as good as Enforcer, in my opinion. Stormguard, she's just going into the A tier because she's a little niche. She can suffer from no damage, but she's basically the AoE, you know, Outlaw, whatever Axeman is basically Stormbreaker at home. You know, it's like, oh, we got Stormbreaker at home, Stormbreaker at home. I stopped using her because her damage wasn't insane, but she does have some incredible stuff. She does get at 5-star. So he gets 10% less AoE damage. Okay, boohoo. I admit that it is something. But when defeating any target, you do an AoE and it goes up to 60% all around her. So she does like Defile from Hearthstone. She's the Beyblade. Sometimes she spins twice. Sometimes she spins 5 times. She just spins and kills and kills and kills. So if you're in a situation where you actually have a couple targets, there's a good chance she can kill one and then do a fuck ton of damage to the other one. And sometimes that'll be enough to kill that one and then keep going again. Also, this will work if you like break shit. Like if you break a barrel, I'm pretty sure it activates as well. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. I have to double check. I haven't used her in a while, but I thought it worked on environmental items as well. But she also gets the passive. After initiating an active attack, you do 20% physical damage to all enemies within 1 tile. So every time you attack, you're adding 20% on top of it. So now you got not storm counter. Where's her big attack here? Tearing Whirlwind, right? This isn't unique to her, but this does 90% to all enemies around her. Then it also does another 20%. Then if it kills something, it'll do another 60%. And she can give herself damage enhancement. I don't like this ability that much. I'd probably get rid of it. She was one of the first characters I was really using. I would definitely give her toughness because toughness is good, but I thought this was dog shit when I started the game and I learned that it wasn't. Storm counter, which is kind of a cool ability. When attacked from the front or side, decreases damage taken by 8%, then performs a strike back, dealing 45% physical damage to all enemies. So she does do an AoE attack. So it says 45%, but it's actually stronger because it can hit multiple targets. 120% single target AoE damage, which is really good. It's not single target, it's 2 tiles. If the target is injured, inflicts no resolve. If the target is injured, inflicts no resolve. This is that means characters can't self-revive. Guzman can, but I think every other character literally can't. Because I think Guzman has immunity to resolve, and I don't think any other characters have immunity to resolve. So, and they get healing down. And it does 120%, which is buffed by her other ability, which then she also follows up again with another 20% as an active attack. What a fucking badass ability, bro. This makes her tanky, who gives a shit. And neither of these are AoE, unfortunately. So you're always going to take the one that makes your next skill deal more damage. This ability's fucking sick, bro. My God, she's so good. I should be using her. I use her at too low of a level. Where did I put her? Where did I put her? I put her in A tier, right? Yep, there she is. That's where she belongs. Suppression. I actually think Suppression is not quite S tier. I think a lot of people will disagree with me there, but I think he's probably the highest A tier character in the game. The issue with Suppression is he's not as tanky as I want him to be. He is tanky and he is good. He has a lot of good stuff. He has the flag of the PayPal states. He has resolve, so he can guarantee live. He has a self-heal, a self-defense increase. His trait does damage, decreases magic damage, also makes him do a bunch of counterattack damage. He also has the ability to self-regenerate his own energy. He also has the, if you wanted it, you could do Demon Shear. You could also do him a more attack-based build. He also can get additional counterattacks. He also has Flagellant. All right, I've changed my mind. He's S tier. That's fucking it. He's insane. All right. All right, Suppression is S tier. All right, I've changed my mind on that one. Tempest is going to be the highest D tier character on our list. I think Tempest is the worst golden unit in the game, besides Flare. But I mean, Flare doesn't even deserve to be gold, if I'm being completely honest. Tempest at least deserves to be gold. And I could be totally wrong about Tempest. I've never used them in combat, but they have like this really, really fucking cool ability here where after you attack, you get armor, and after you get attacked, you get Wind Fury. I wish it was the opposite, you know, and I know that's kind of the idea. Like when you get attacked, I wish it buffed you and gave you Wind Fury. And when you received an attack, I wish your next attack got armor. But it could be really annoying if you have this character up and he's suddenly in a spot where he gets attacked multiple times and he keeps getting Wind Fury instead of Wind Armor. Is really annoying. So you have to go up and attack stuff to get the Wind Armor. Then when you attack, you have to get attacked to get the Wind Fury. It could be kind of awkward to make all these things happen. But the buffs are pretty good. Wind Armor gives you 40% defense. Wind Fury gives you 20% attack. I mean, it's good. Is it insane? 40% defense is pretty insane. That is good. And then, you know, he has a good knockback. And he has some, like, really cool, unique shit. But I just have, like, I'm just not impressed overall. Right? Charges at an enemy, deals 150% damage. When you have Wind Fury, you knock him back 2 tiles. It costs 3 energy with a 2 cooldown. Is that really that much better than just having this? Knock him back at 140% damage. I mean, it's good. It's good. It's better. But is it that much better that you need to have Wind Fury, which means you need to have been attacked for it to happen, or it's a bad skill? I don't know. Before receiving a melee attack from the front or side, deals 50% damage to all enemies within 1 tile. If you have Wind Armor, additionally inflicts damage down 2 for a turn. So it always does the damage. The fact that's also like annoying is like if you have Wind Armor, you inflict damage down 2, but this happens after you got hit, which is fucking annoying. You want this to happen before you get hit. You went through the effort of getting Wind Armor. I would feel like that should happen first. Plus, I might just want the energy thing. Crescendo combo is good. A couple characters have it, not unique. And then his attacks just aren't that. I feel like he kind of like wah. It's just, I'm not impressed. That's all. I think he's so close. I think this could be like an S tier character based off the design, based off like the trait. I think it just needs some tweaks and some buffs to really make him pop off. He has to go through a lot of work to make his, and he has to go through a lot of work to get the most out of his kit, and the payoffs I think are not quite there. Valerian Scout, don't get mad at me. I'm going to put him rate low B tier. He's straight up better than this character 99.9% of the time. But you know what? Fuck it. He's going A tier. You're right. You're right. I'm talking shit. This is one of my favorite characters in the game. It's my fucking list, all right? So I was going to give him low stuff just because I'm like, he's just a Luxite shrapnel, you know, on a body. But this guy gets extra movement, so he gets 6 movement instead of 5. After he attacks, you can move again. Also, his actual passive is jump and climb. This guy can move like nobody in the game. This character moves more than fucking Cole does by like without any effort. Cole has to use a skill. This character doesn't have to use a skill. They just move like crazy. Then if you have a height difference of 2, you get an increased crit. So if you get high ground bonus, you get additional crit, which is very easy for this character, assuming that the enemy's positioned in the right time. So yes, they are just Luxite on a body for tower, but that's not all they are actually. If you go the complete opposite thing, right, you get 150% damage, and when attacking from Highland, which is what you want to do, you get an additional 30% damage, additional 30% crit, and the Highland attack bonus. For each tile traverse before attacking, you get up to 15% bonus attack. Very easy to do. Also, this blade is really good. 150% damage. When the target is injured, crit and crit damage is increased by 15%, and you ignore assisting cover. So this is great at executing things. Very good ability. He also has this badass ability here. You could do 150% damage if you move and run up to someone and just kick them in the face, and then you could run away. Very good ability character. There's actually a lot of damage. Just because I always use them in tower, it makes their damage look like shit, but they are not shit. They are very good. Mytha, I'm including these two as lower rarity units because they're free for everybody. I was supposed to include Phycal as well, actually. So you could, that way, I wanted to do them at the end. That way, if you didn't care what I had to say about them, you could just turn off the video at this point. Let's do it like this. Mytha, I think, is a solid B tier character. She kind of does everything, but none of it, she doesn't excel in any of it in a degree that I'm like, oh, wow, what a fucking badass. She has like a little bit of heal. That's kind of nice. She has some knockback, and like, that's nice. The charge is pretty good. She's got the ability to guard. I mean, that's pretty nice. She has the ability to block and then counterattack. That's kind of nice. Like, she does a lot of stuff that's good, but none of it is like actually like good. A little bit of buffs, but they're not level 2. They're level 1 buffs, and it's a little bit of heal, and it's like, It does let her guard for everybody, so like, that's kind of nice, you know? She has the flag, but it's worse than the other character's flag we're going to talk about, so that's kind of nice. The combo is good, and invulnerable is good. I think this is her best ability. Probably not a surprise. There's 170% damage and knocks him back. Great ability. That's probably the best part about her kit, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown. And overall, it's just kind of like, you know, she's good at everything, but she doesn't excel at everything, but you could easily invest in her, and she'll do a lot for you, so you don't got to feel bad about it. Phycal, I think, is an A tier character. He's just good at a lot of shit. He's like Abyss at home in a lot of ways, but he's also better than Abyss later in the game, probably. Where's he at? I don't use him that much. But if you get him up to 3 stars, which I am going to base this off of, because you get him for free, and then you can farm him up to 3 stars. He has a 100% chance whenever he deals damage to inflict one random level 2 debuff. He has passively the ability to attack twice, so that's 2 level 2 debuffs without doing any effort. He also has alert shot, which does a bunch of damage, you know, to different characters. Foot sniping is pretty good. He has the arrow of Guardian of Convallaria, 120% damage, and interrupts the action. It only works once, but it does interrupt their action. So they basically skip their whole turn. Very good ability. He also, the ability that I fucked up and didn't take, Eye for an Eye. His reaction is insane. You get, every time he gets attacked from range, he just counters attacks with 100% damage. And when he counterattacks, he also does a debuff on him, because it's whenever he deals damage, right? Is it whenever he does an active attack or deals damage? Whenever he deals damage, right? That's fucking, he's so good. And then you get the ability to either go all in on alert, which gives him his alert attacks really, really powerful. So it stacks with his ability to use Eye for an Eye. So Eye for an Eye is always going to do a debuff, while also getting 45% crit, also getting 30% damage. It's also going to add that to your alert shot and your arrow of Convallaria. These are very, very good abilities, very strong. But Gale Billow Volley does 5 instances of damage. in an AoE. If you hit one target 5 times, right, this is going to be 5 level 2 debuffs, which I think is literally every single one of the game, assuming you can't roll the same one multiple times. Either way, you're just going to hit a bunch of fucking people. You're going to do a bunch of debuffs. You're going to do a good amount of damage. Very, very good character. Where did I put him? In the A tier? Yeah, he's in the A tier. Let's put him like halfway up the A tier. Let's put him a little bit higher up in the A tier. Well, come on, let's not get crazy there. Finally, Rawia. She is an S tier character up here. It was one of the best characters in the entire game, and she is free to all of us. Again, I'm only including her in the lower rarity because everyone gets her after a week or two of playing the game as part of the Voyager conquest. What doesn't she do, man? She's like Mytha, but better in every single way. She's tankier. She doesn't protect. But she does everything else. So her trait is increased damage and self-healing. And not only is it increased damage and self-healing, it's also increased crit chance and increased damage negation. So this passive does everything. Basically, when her turn starts, she drinks some beer. And then when she drinks beer, she heals. She also gets additional crit, which can stack. And she gets 10% more damage negation, which can stack. Then she gets the ability to get another pint. So she could drink to heal again. Get another thing of tipsy, which gives her more crit, more damage negation, which is fucking good. Her basic attack is 85% damage, but knocks back 2 tiles. This is no cooldown. No, this is nothing besides it's her normal attack. This is so fucking nice to have on a normal attack. And when you get to a higher level and you don't need knockback, you could switch it to a better version of a normal attack that could dispel buffs, something like that. Her screw off is really, really good because it strikes back, and when she's tipsy, which she always is because she can't stop drinking, you get to knock an enemy back 2 tiles. That means if they attack you in the wrong position, sometimes they die, sometimes they get knocked to an enemy, sometimes they get knocked into a wall, take extra damage, which is a percent-based damage. Very good reaction. Gale Breach is like her main ability. It's so fucking good, bro. It does a charge attack for 30% damage, right? Which doesn't seem like insane, but you inflict no reaction skills. So you inflict a debuff on them. Then it turns into Tropical Cyclone, which does 140% damage, plus 10% for each debuff up to 50%. So this is 190%. When you have an increased 25% damage, increased 60% chance to crit just based off your tipsies. Absolutely, this ability fucks. This ability hits really, really hard, and it increases our movement. So even if something's far away, you could use this, and then you could move around and knock shit off of edges. It's so good. And we haven't even gotten to her best abilities yet. The ability to ignore injured and dying is very good. I don't love it on her as much as other characters, but it is very good. Piercing Bash is whatever because it's across from Tipsy. You could do Guardian's Heart. I don't think you want her to tank for people. So I would not take Guardian's Heart. I would take Screw Off because this knocks you back further, and she's not supposed to take damage for everyone. But she also has Sword of Convallaria. This is Mytha's ability, but on steroids. It's just better. It's 10% attack, 20% defense. But also, damage dealt by it is increased by 8%, and damage taken is decreased by 8%. That is so fucking good. It affects her as well. So you just throw this on her. You don't even need, let's say you don't want this ability because, I don't know, you don't want it. You can just put this on her. Boom. Now she has passively, you go into fight, she has 20% more attack, or 10% more attack, 20% more defense, 8% more damage, and 8% more damage negation. Just for having this on your hotbar. She's insane. She's one of the best characters in the entire game, and she's free. Everyone has her. She does incredible amount of damage. She's self-sustaining. She has the ability to knock things off the edge. She has great damage negation. One of my favorite characters in the game for sure. So she safely earns her spot in the S rank, probably above Abyss. And yeah, that is the list. How long did that take? I'm at 1:45 as of recording. I'm going to edit some of this down. We will see. I've got to go get ready for work. This took longer than I thought. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this video. It was a long one, but if you made it to the end, let me know. Comment something in the chat, in the comment section. Let me know where you agree. Let me know where you disagree. I'll let you know why you're wrong in the comments down below. Much love. Anyway, peace out. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye. Platypus on the rise. Watch the views go.